大丈夫さ前に進もう太陽をいつも胸に繋いだって伝わるパワー願いを捕まえようよ
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us once again to look at the wide world of One Piece. We are in for another wild ride. I hope you guys are excited for it. Joining me, as usual, is Jerry.
Yeah, it's Jerry, Robo Tengu Smith.
And we have with us once again Mike Del Vecchio, who is also just super excited about talking about One Piece. Right, Mike?
Very much so. Thank you guys for having me back for round two.
Oh,
Hell
Very
yeah.
much.
Oh, for sure,
super
for
excited for
sure. We're not gonna abandon you in Alabasta. It's way too hot.
No.
But this is your opening spoiler warning. Spoilers, because we are going to be talking about everything that happens in the arcs that were important to us. So if you haven't made it as far as where we're going to be talking, quit listening, go watch 900 episodes,
Yeah.
and then come back and join us.
Yeah. We will do our best not to ramble, but it's hard to whenever you have like the three of us being such huge fans of the series. And
Right.
we literally cannot run out of things to say about it. So yeah.
Yeah, we're
Deal
hopefully.
with it, I guess.
I said, we are. This is going to be another long video, but we're hoping to kind of cover a bit more ground. We're going to try to contain ourselves, but you know what? Fuck it, we're fans. What happens is going to happen. So,
True
we wrapped up Alabasta last time, and where does that bring us next in our journey?
Well, after Alabasta, they picked up Nico Robin, who is a tentative member of the crew that just decided on her own that she was going to join.
Right.
And then the whole crew headed to a new island, as they will. I believe this island. I can't remember if they have a name for it. I know the town in it is Mock Town. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the island is Jaya.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jaya. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Mocktown. Okay. Yeah. This one, kind of short and sweet on this one. What were some of the, I don't know, key moments that happened in this little arc here?
Well, I think one of the most important things that happens here is that we find out a lot with these as the story goes. These smaller arcs tend to be more world building, so like a lot of stuff happens in the background.
Right.
But then the biggest thing that happens for the Straw Hats is Blackbeard is introduced, but we don't know who he is at first.
Right, just the laughing pie eating man that's sitting on the dock talking about, I believe it was like just follow your dreams or something.
Yeah,
Like, super inspirational for who's going to turn out to be one of the series' biggest pieces of shit.
And the whole point is that the Straw Hats get laughed at, in the bar by another rookie pirate, Bellamy, that for the fact that they believe in a sky island because they heard rumors about this thing,
Right.
and so Blackbeard, you find out him and Luffy because they had the scene where they're like the similar but opposite at the same time. Like Luffy hates the pies, but Blackbeard loves the pies and all that. But then you find out they're the same in their dreams. Like always believe in your dreams, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if they mentioned it here, but I think he's the first person that we're introduced to that has the D initial as well, right? Marshall D. Teach.
Well, no, I mean, outside of Monkey D. Luffy, of course.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, like the first person other than Luffy that we're introduced.
Yeah, I can't remember if his brother has, if Ace has it, or if
Oh,
we know
right.
going on if Ace has it.
Right.
They
At that
did-
point,
they
I don't
did
think
mention
I don't think they ever said his full Portuguese D-Ace either, though. So,
Right.
but at this point, yeah, that's another one of the people, the D initials. But even though at this point you don't know the significance of that just yet. But let's talk about,
Right,
you
right,
mentioned a guy, Bellamy the hyena, laughing at them. And yeah, like he gets into a little scrap in with Luffy, or at least he tries to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause he's introduced as this guy who he's like this ruthless, rookie. He's a pretty high bounty to go off with, And when Nami, Luffy, and Zoro go into the bar, Luffy and Zoro promise not to start anything, and they allow themselves to get beat up and all that, and mocked and all that, kind of mirroring how Shanks was in the very first chapter, like
Right.
in Luffy's backstory. But then later on, once basically Luffy gets the go ahead to start some stuff, we find out just how tough Bellamy really is.
Which was a very satisfying one shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because they were basing his strength and how notorious he was off of his what was it, his value or whatever, like what his starting wanted was or whatever,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny because at this point he was only a 30 million, but after Alabasta, so like they go through this whole thing, Luffy one shots him, and then everybody's just kind of stunned about this, and he leaves, and then somebody hurries up or scurries in, and they're like, so this new flyer just came in, and it raised Luffy's bounty to 100 million.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So that's a pretty interesting moment.
yeah, and Bellamy had another. He did already have the his spring fruit, right?
Yeah.
He did.
So that was his big thing too. Is he can make his limbs into spring coils. He's bouncing all around and talking shit still, just around the room. Just like, you can't touch me with my power. I'm invisible. And just seeing Luffy just punch him dead to the fucking ground in one hit, for me, was super satisfying. So that was like I said, of course, important thing of beating Blackbeard, but like, I don't, that whole fight, quote unquote, was like probably the highlight for me on this arc, as well as learning their bounty raises.
Yep. So yeah, they essentially they had this whole backstory with the character that's talking about Sky Island, and that was like their dream to find out about this because it was like their ancestors' thing.
Right.
So they find out about this upstream, and it has some kind of interesting like thing where you have to ride it up. It's like this just giant weird like water sprout out of the ground. And it was kind of funny because when they're going towards it and trying to figure out how to go up it, you see Blackbeard and his crew for the first time. And they're on this fucking dingy little like raft that's
Right.
thrown together with some logs and a fucking flag. So that was pretty interesting. But yeah, I honestly forgot that after Alabasta, everyone had a bounty after that. So that was kind of interesting, and I think that's when we got our first Sanji fucking look. Or no,
Yep.
actually, that wasn't. Was that? Actually, it looks like it's after the next really, really big arc.
Okay, yeah.
So,
I think that's the
never
one
mind.
that just they kind of raised up Luffy and Zoro, who already had bounties,
Yep.
and with
Yeah.
Usopp in the background of Luffy's. But yeah, I think they get to
Yep.
their all
Yeah.
wanted posters a little bit later. But yeah, so they go to they're playing at Sky Island, and they learn about the upstream, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's supposed to be a way to the skies, and because One Piece, it happens. They actually managed to get there, and that's what we get to the next. I would say this is the next major arc would be Skypiea.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like it's really big, and going back and reading it, it's, I think, a little more important than a lot of people kind of give credit to, because in the first read through, you kind of think it's kind of like almost like a throwaway. Nothing's really happening. But then going back and seeing the stuff that was introduced later on, it's like, oh, this is really important.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of people really scoff at that arc. And like it was just a really awesome arc. A lot of stuff happened in it, honestly.
right. So what's some of the
Yeah,
what would you say some of the highlights?
They introduced what they called at the time mantra, where it's like all the bad guys can kind of like predict what they're gonna what everyone's gonna do,
Right,
which we
right.
find out later on is like the introduction to hockey, but like since they're in the sky, then they don't have the same word for it.
Right.
I think that they really lend itself to like a lot of interesting fights. Like it's not that your traditional like one-on-one. There's a lot of intersecting fights and all that, and leading to some pretty cool moves and all that.
Right. Yeah, and so we got the Sky People who are ruled by I mean, another devil fruit user, and I see the translation. I think the official one still calls him Enel, although it's like some people still refer to it as Enaru, which is like, I guess closer to would be the Japanese pronunciation.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna call him Enel. That's what I'm used to. To me, he looks like Eminem with longer ears,
That's fair.
and
Yep.
Yeah.
and he's based a lot on the like the Japanese gods of like thunder and lightning, because he's got like the drums kind of like hooked into his back, and which led to a really interesting fight with a man who can create lightning against a man made of rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and the faces started there with people fighting.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah, the realization, like the class. I mean, it's a meme. This his face when it realized, but it was another multi-part fight though too, because he kind of handicapped Luffy at first.
Yeah, he didn't. Was it his arm that he put a giant golden ball on?
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, and handicapped him with that. Yeah, that fight was like real intense, and it was really interesting because like Mike was saying, with the addition of I forgot what they call it, or what they called it, but
Mantra.
basically the hockey.
Right.
Yeah, where they can actually hit people with like devil fruit powers and predict and stuff like that, was just really great. It just the fact that you've got this character once again that's like made out of lightning, and everyone worships him as a god. And of course, if you live in the sky, you could just decimate anything with your lightning.
Right.
It was just this really, really big thing, and he had this plan. He had this huge arc, and he was gonna fly it around and just destroy shit. Destroy the Sky Islands and everything with it, and take over the world essentially. I have gone back to that several times, thinking like, oh man, if he popped up on anyone in the new world or anything like that, like Enel would have just got fucking wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, for his time, for where they were in their power levels, he was definitely, I mean, a worthy follow up to Crocodile, because it's all still the crew's learning about the bigger world as we are, and that's what's really cool about One Piece. It's not just like, oh, Luffy although granted Luffy's so simple, it's just like, oh, he's the next fight, whatever, but then he still has to learn as he gets his ass whooped, usually when he encounters who's going to be the big boss eventually. They're not always the multi-tier fight, but there's a lot of these early on that do that to show Luffy's growth, I think.
Oh yeah. And then not only his growth, but a lot of the other characters. And one of the things to note that we hadn't really touched on is the ship. We get our first little hint of a Club Earthman, I think is how it's pronounced. But we don't really get to know anything about that until a little bit later. But Usopp is the one who witnesses this little being, kind of working on their ship and everything, because it gets stuck on one of these islands.
Yeah, the Mary's been through a lot at this point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We start seeing hints that going leading up to this point that Mary keeps getting wrecked and like basically patched up kind of haphazardly. So like Usopp sees the little spirit of the ship trying to fix itself so that it can keep sailing with them and all that.
Right. And I think the other big thing that really went down too, though, which again paints that bigger picture, is we get the first Poneglyph.
Right.
Yep.
Which is
Well, actually, no. The first one is in Alabasta at the end, because that's what that's what Cobra had in the tomb and all that, and that's why Robin was infiltrating Crocodile's thing. This is the second one where I believe it talks about the ancient weapons, because the ones down in Pluton is down in Alabasta, and Poseidon is mentioned in Skypiea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying it basically hints at this much bigger story and world that like we never really we still don't know what's really going on. Then they call the Void Century. It's basically like the Dark Ages for One Piece.
Right.
Yeah, the fucking Void Century. It's just kind of really interesting that they haven't really given us a huge eventually we're going to get a giant flashback where we're going to see stuff on this. And it's funny because a lot of times whenever that's brought up, or like some kind of new Devil Fruit inventions brought up, they bring up Vegapunk. So I feel like eventually when we find out about the Void Century, we're going to see some stuff about Vegapunk too as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But in Luffy fashion, and very, very climactic fashion as Luffy is, he ends up defeating Enel. And I think this is whenever he develops his rifle, Gum Gum rifle attack?
Yeah. Where he basically takes his normal pistol, which is just he shoots his arm back and fires it forward, but this time he shoots it back and twists it so that when it hits it hits him, and it goes even faster because it has more, I guess, propulsion or whatever. And then when it hits an L, it ends up flying and spinning, away.
Blasting off again. Yeah, like and I mean he has that whole golden ball attached, so that just even adds even more, insanity to this whole thing. But yeah, it was a really awesome arc, and it was kind of one of those things where like at the end of every arc, after they have had a really big fight, they have that party, where they all have like eat meat and all this stuff. And it was kind of funny because this whole time, they've been looking for all these like treasures and stuff like that. And don't they end up like sneaking off like in the night or whatever? And like all the Sky Islanders and stuff were going to end up giving them all this treasure, and like they just left without it or something. Or did they actually fill their boat with it? I can't remember.
Yeah, honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah.
There's always that celebratory party, and I mean that sounds like something like they would just like, because as much as Robin Nami wants like treasure and stuff, like that'd be very much them of just leaving before they get any kind of like benefit. I think they hooked them up with food and water or whatever for the next leg of their journey, and of course got them pointed in their next direction. And the next one is the arc I always kind of forget about because I really want to get to the next one usually in my head.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
But
yeah. Well, one more thing that we got from this arc were the dials, which the dials were a pretty good upgrade for like Usopp and Nami, who don't have abilities, So they were pretty interesting, and they had impact dials and smell dials and stuff like that could do different things. They're essentially just seashells that are devices that have different abilities. But yeah, that was I think that was the only other thing. And then they fucking just flew out of Sky Island and came careening down to the Grand Line once again.
Yeah. Then the next one was was it Long Ring Island?
I think it was just Long Island, wasn't it?
Something like that, right? Yeah.
Long Ring Long Land arc.
There it is. I knew it had some kind of crazy name where we meet the Davy Back Pirates.
Yeah. It was the Davy Back fight with the
Foxy Pirates.
Yeah, and they find out what a Davy Back fight is and all this stuff, and it was like, I don't know, everybody was still reeling off of what everything that happened in Skypiea, so it was kind of like, I don't know, not necessarily a letdown, but it's like okay, we know how serious this series can get. Why are we doing this arc?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It was just kind of funny because like the anime had this filler of them actually coming down and having to go through this fortress because they landed in a fucking marine fortress to get out, and then the Foxy arc. And whenever I looked it up, I thought it was like the opposite of like the marine base being the filler, but no, that wasn't the case. Or the Foxy thing being the filler and the marine being the canon, but it was opposite. So
right.
I don't know. It was kind of funny.
But was this I think the only thing if I'm remembering correctly that came out of this fight though was Afro Luffy.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Love Afro Luffy.
Which is like the greatest thing because the whole thing is they're doing one-on-one fights, and every time somebody loses a fight, the member of the crew has to go join that pirate
Yeah.
group, and they're kind of going back and forth, if I remember correctly. But I just remember like one of the end thing was like Luffy just wanted to box the guy, and was it Usopp told him like the power of the afro, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
we have Luffy in boxing gloves and a giant fro for power. It is just an iconic look and moment. It's just very silly to an overall kind of a because there was a lot to take into Skypiea, so I kind of get why they did it. But I guess when you're
Yeah.
kind of like thinking back to all the great moments, I don't think this one comes up very often.
Right.
But
Yeah,
still,
and I mean
yeah.
it's almost like our little kind of cool down arc,
Right.
where we had the island where that little big garden in between Drum Island and Alabasta, and then they had the little Jaya Island in between Alabasta and Skypiea. So it makes a little bit of sense if you don't think about it.
Yeah, the craziest thing though is the juxtaposition from like how goofy the beginning of it is to the very end when they introduce Aokiji and the admirals of the
Yeah,
Marines.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
because at this point, the Marines are kind of tough, but then, a lot of them are pushovers, and then this guy just
Yeah.
steamrolls through the Straw Hats. He has the ice fruit. He's a Logia Iceman, and he just basically no effort at all, just really hands Luffy his ass.
Right.
Yeah, and we kind of get this sense that him and Robin have history together.
Yep.
And
Big
it's
time.
kind of funny because when he leaves, he just hops on a bicycle and just drives across the ocean on his bicycle.
As you do.
Yeah, he was like really unassuming, and then all of a sudden he just fucks the whole crew up. It was just, I don't know, like nuts. So we kind of get that power level of like, a Navy vice admiral, right?
Right.
Or is an admiral? It's an admiral, right?
Admiral. Yeah.
Admiral, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
is
so they have.
which I really liked because
Mhm.
a trope often in like shonen stories is like you always have the next stronger guy, which all of them follow this. But a lot of times they kind of just like, okay, you just beat this dude, you're the biggest baddest guy literally until the last fight. But what Oda did here was show, okay, yeah, Luffy took down a quote unquote god, brought him back down to earth, and he got checked almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, dude? Like, and instead of, and he, to my memory, I don't think he ever even fights Aokiji down the line. It just kind of shows though, like, hey, yeah, you took down a very powerful dude, but this is a big fucking world. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's just so well done. Showing,
Very much so.
like, yeah, the showing like the goals. One of my YouTubers does like a lot. I wish I could credit him because I can't remember which one said it. I want to say it was Super Eye Patch Wolf. The showing how, like, instead of like just going, oh, so and so suddenly got powerful through his will, through his just screaming in the air longer. Like Oda shows what the goals are slowly. Like he'll just show hints of the higher powers that they have to attain, and they're not even going to attain with One Piece. It takes its time and doesn't jump straight to it.
Yeah, and it's great because you'll always see like Zoro like lifting weights and stuff on the ship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to like get to those points where they're like, I need to unlock a new strength.
And
this just
and-
regular training isn't cutting it essentially.
Yeah, and that's what, like I said, again, not trying to like harp on other shows too much, but like how like immediate example I think of is Bleach. Much as I enjoyed the series, it started coming to points where Ichigo literally was just like, well, he has to realize he's stronger. Oh, he realized it and got his power up. Here, you do see the progression through loss, through training, through just tactical thinking their way, and you see, and that's not just for the lead, that's for the entire crew, which is just another segment of why we're here talking about One Piece now.
Do we want to credit Luffy for thinking?
I mean, okay. Here's an old expression I like to use. Like, what is it? He's stupid, not dumb.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Very
like,
much so, yeah.
Like there is some thought to his dumbassery. Like, he's
You
impulsive.
literally never used that expression though. I think you just made that up.
I'll take it.
No.
Yeah, hell, you can credit me. I'll take it. But then we get to so the Mary's in tough shape at this point, and they're like, Usopp can only do so much, and even he's saying like, hey, look, there's only so many more boards I can hammer to the side, which is like the extent of his shipwright skill. So it takes him to the Water 7, which yeah.
Before we find out about Water 7, we discover
okay.
that there is a fucking train that drives across the ocean.
That's a
I
small
just wanna
detail,
point that
really.
out. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, they're
Yeah,
going
yeah.
and they hit something, and it's like, what is that? And then they look down and there's like fucking train rails.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
that's whenever they find out that there's a train that travels across land, and that there's a entire island dedicated to shipbuilding. So they decide to go there to get the Going Merry fix.
So is this the arc that kind of started the going on? I'm gonna say like what decade long fight whenever we get to a new island or new arc that there's gonna be a new crew member?
I think so. Because
Because because I remember specifically they went there looking for a shipwright, and then they introduced like 10 new characters that could all
Right.
potentially quote unquote be a crew member and all that.
right.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It would definitely be if it's not this one. It I don't know which one it would have been because there was no real. We had some dudes, some people that could have been joining up in Skypea, and we thought maybe Vivi back in Alabasta, but like, yeah, this one, like, I think you said it right though, but they come there and there's like so many just randomly cool potentials. And I actually remember one of my buddies was working their way through the show, and of course I'm not giving them any spoilers, and they were like, okay, there's like 5 shipwrights that could be one of them. Which one is it? I said, I don't know. And when we get to it, and which we're gonna get to who it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this for my story. But like when he finally found out that it was Frankie, he goes, "Not Frankie." He was so disappointed. Like, wish he grew to like Frankie, but he was a little disappointed it was Frankie.
Yeah, I remember when I remember when this was coming out, and my friends and I were all talking and all that, and I was for sure thought that Paulie, the guy with the ropes, I
Yeah.
could have sworn he was going to be the new member, and then I'm glad he wasn't because Frankie, spoiler alert, is my favorite crew member.
Oh,
Nice.
nice. Yeah.
I honestly was rooting for Kaku. I really liked his character design and everything, and then we
Yeah.
all know what happened there.
Kaku's great. Yeah, I would have been. I liked Kaku also right at the jet, but to be honest, I think because I wasn't watching One Piece as it came out, but so I was playing catch up, and I think I'd already had been spoiled on Frankie.
Yes.
So I knew, but I was still like, oh man, can you imagine if any of these other dudes? Like I saw, like, wow, these really. If I had not known that, this would have been a really great. Like, okay, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
Yeah, I did a lot of avoiding around that time. So honestly, I don't know if whenever I was watching this, I was for sure like who it was going to be and everything. But it was a really cool arc, right? So they get there, they're asking about the different shipwrights and stuff. They have this really cool waterway system where you ride on some kind of like weird I don't even know what you would call that thing. It's like
like seahorses.
Yeah, it's like a seahorse that carts people around. So what was it? Luffy, Nami, and Usopp go to look for this, while I think was it Zoro and Sanji, they go off and do their own things. Everybody has their own little job to do. When they get to the shipwrights, they actually they meet all these like new characters, and there's so fucking many of them. I can't even like think of there's these like badass people. Like I think our introduction to them is actually like a pirate crew refusing to pay for their work, and so they just basically come in and wipe the floor with this pirate crew.
Right.
But we get introduced to Polly, who's kind of like the lead, and then I'm honestly forgetting the name of the Galley Law like leader. What was his fucking name?
Iceberg.
Iceberg. That's right. Why would I forget Iceberg?
With his little mouse in his pocket.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting. He's like, I just found this mouse and I decided to name it, and it lives in my pocket now.
Did he name the mouse Tyrannosaurus?
Tyrannosaurus, that's right.
Oh, it's One Piece.
I know. So they send Kaku out to go and check on their ship and everything to assess the damage and see what they can do to get it fixed. I think meanwhile, Usopp's in charge of watching the money, and was it one of the briefcases gets stolen and replaced. So they head out. I think what is it? Him and Luffy head out to go get it, and end up encountering this thief with a mask on, and it ends up being the notorious shipwright Frankie and the Frankie family.
Oh yeah.
And so they get into a fight with him, and we find out that Frankie's not like other people. He's a Hawaiian shirt wearing, pompadour having, Speedo cyborg of a person.
Powered
But
by
only,
cola.
but only the front half,
Yeah. Only his front half is.
because he did it himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? How are you going to work on your back half and turn your back half into a cyborg?
Exactly. And his ultimate move is to lay down on the ground.
Yeah, it makes him completely invincible.
Yeah.
So they all get into it, and he ends up getting away, right? And in the meantime, I think Usopp ends up getting back to the ship, and he goes to confront the Frankie family, who, it's Usopp confronting an entire group of people, and they just beat the absolute dog shit out of him. Kaku comes back and essentially tells Nami and Luffy that their ship is not fixable, because the main plank of wood that all of the other planks are just kind of fashioned to is cracked, and it's only a matter of time before the ship, essentially just gives out and falls apart. So, Luffy, being the captain, has to make an executive decision and decides that they're going to have to get a new ship. Well, when they finally find Usopp, they go and, was it him and Zoro and Sanji and Frankie just are completely pissed off and go and fight the Frankie family. And I don't think Frankie was there at the time, right? So they just essentially steamroll like all of his goons and everything.
Yeah, like
And-
I said, they to kind of get back for Usopp, who's pretty, like you said, pretty beat up. But what it leads down to, though, is really like when Usopp find out about the Mary, and what
Yeah, because-
what Luffy decides that, hey, it's the main center bow of the ship or something like that. Like you said, it's the central backbone of the ship. It's not fixable. The Mary is done. We can't take her out, and Usopp's is not having it. And it gets heated, and it leads to Usopp versus Luffy. Like they are. What's that?
Arguably one of the best fights in the whole series.
It still
for
may be
sure.
my favorite fight, just on pure emotion, because like Usopp lays out the challenge. No, basically it's like, I'm fighting for the Mary. He's leaving the crew, because your captain doesn't fight a crewmate. So he's like, I'm done, but I'm taking the Mary. And like Luffy's like, you're not going anywhere, kind of thing. And it was like, Usopp says, I have to do this, and like he lays out the battle as best he can. He tells them to meet him on the beach like at like sundown or something. And to Usopp's credit, man, he gave it everything, and he knew he was going into a fight he couldn't win. But he laid out traps. He used every single like sneak attack he could come up with. He used the dial, the impact dial, and just did all kind of stuff best he could. And Luffy took, like, the way I always looked at it, like, I think Luffy let him just unleash as much as he could before he just finally had enough, and just said, all right, I gotta put a stop to this. And that he lays out Usopp, as we know he probably could have done from the jump.
Yeah, and just the pure emotions in this, because the ship they got from his home island, so it has a little bit more meaning to Usopp than like the rest of the crew. Not to say that they don't have any emotion towards it, but like he's also been the one repairing it and trying to keep all of the work up on it and everything, and like not just the emotions between Luffy and Usopp during this fight, but the entire crew as they watch this whole fight unfold, and like it's essentially the crew being like split because of Usopp. Usopp's essentially like their heart of the crew and everything. Just kind of pulled it together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And like I said, this one, the emotion, the reason, the storytelling behind it more so than any like epic, battle. Really, though, it was literally like just hitting you right in the feels that the crew is also feeling. And if you think
Yeah.
this is the last time that's going to happen, one piece hitting you in the feels, oh boy. But yeah, if I remember right, like Luffy puts him down. Usopp acknowledges his loss, and of course, because he fought his captain, he has to leave the crew.
Hmm.
Which they're like, no, it's okay, we understand now. And Usopp, like, he's a man, he wants to be a man of the sea, he has to live up to his code, and he quits the crew.
Yeah, and also the Zoro showing that he's the first mate. He's the one who really like makes sure that Luffy sticks to it. Like this guy, basically declared mutiny
Yeah.
and fought you, so you have to. He's not part of the crew anymore. Like he held he held his feet to the fire for that.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which like if you didn't know anything about the future of One Piece, you're like, wow, we lost a member. Because I know my buddy who's going through it right now. He recently just finished up the Water 7 arc, and he was like, Usopp left the crew? And of course, I'm not saying anything other than, yeah, man, it sucks. It was like, we were just getting to like him.
Right,
Like, yeah, it's a real
right.
shame, man. But don't worry, he gets replaced with somebody better. And he's like, no one's better. He's one of the ones that really didn't like Usopp at first, but then like, this recent arcs really built him up.
Mhm. And one of the other emotional things we're about to get to, Robin wasn't there during that. Robin had gone missing, right?
Right.
Yeah, she got contacted by some masked shadowy figure, basically like I guess like they know her past and all that because she's been shrouded in mystery this whole time and all that, and so she decides to go along with it, and you find out that it's this secret organization called CP9 that works for the world government, and that the members of CP9 were people that we saw before. They had infiltrated the Galiola organization. So like it's Kaku, it's Rob Lucci, it's the secretary Khalifa, and the Blueno, the bartender.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
basically they basically they did this because they wanted to get the plans for Pluton, which you find out is one of the ancient weapons, but also it's also actually a ship. So of course they would have the blueprints at Water 7, the island of shipwrights.
yeah. And that's and that's all like CP9, which is like the world government's like black ops team, like super secret agents, and that's we get introduced to them, and and they make off with Robin, which is
They make off with Robin with the plans. Usopp, so now the crew's down Robin and Usopp.
Yeah.
Usopp stumbles into he's essentially trying to do his best with this ship, and he's got it up on this this gurney type thing. And I think at that point, Frankie comes back into the scene,
right.
and like him and Usopp get into it, and then Usopp kind of starts telling him the story of this ship and stuff, and Frankie's like really touched by it. He ends up telling him the story of the Club Earthman that I mentioned before, and that essentially when a ship is really loved and cared for, it has a soul, and it's just like, oh man, like the feelings in that just moment of him like telling that, and us thinking back to Sky Island and everything is just like, yeah. But it's not long after that, sad story is told, that CP9 pops in here because they were looking for Frankie as well. And they end up putting Frankie out, tying him up and taking him. And they also take Usopp, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think so. I think
I don't think so.
because Usopp. I think Usopp just kind of like disappears for a bit and then pops up, later.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember. What's up?
I was gonna say like I don't remember exactly why Frankie doesn't go with him because he's not really part of the crew yet or anything. But
no, they take Frankie as part of like someone that's wanted, that was part of Tom's crew, that also had information on was it Pluton?
Right, right.
Yeah. So essentially, like Kaku, they lay Frankie out, smack Usopp around. Kaku says, we told you that this ship wasn't, it wouldn't make it or whatever, and he essentially just snaps off the reins, and the ship just kind of goes into the waterway and down, into the ocean and everything. And I do think that they take Usopp, because Usopp ends up on the train, I believe, tied up with Frankie and Robin, if I'm not mistaken. Because then the rest of the crew is like, we have to get them back, and the only way we could do this is what was it? Frankie's Tom's old invention was like an earlier train that was like way more dangerous.
Yeah.
And so they essentially join sides with the Frankie family and get this train going and go after the Water 7 train, where the CP9 is going to a place called Enies Lobby. And man, like this whole train chase, and just all the events that occurred during it are like, it's really emotional, because you have everything that's going on in Robin's head, where she's like, I don't want anything to happen to the crew, but if I don't go with these people, they're gonna die. So she's sort of like submitting to what's going on here. You've got Usopp, who reluctantly wants to help, but doesn't really know what he can do. And then you've got everyone else that's like driving this train out in this fucking storm, with giant waves coming. And you have, what was it? Sanji and Zoro basically cut a hole through this fucking giant tidal wave. But my favorite moment during this whole thing is when they finally, I guess, get onto the ship and free Usopp, and he's like, "No, I'm not coming. I'm done with the crew. I already told you guys that." And he so what he does is he dons this superhero costume and becomes Soga King, and we got the freaking straight up like superhero, out of the 70s Japanese magic, an intro for Soga King with a theme song to boot. And it was just so magical.
Oh yeah, he is definitely a masked hero.
Yeah.
From Sniper Island, and you know where Sniper Island is? It's in your heart.
Yeah.
In your heart.
But that's his way, because in his mind, because he can't abandon Robin and them, but he also, he knows what he did about quitting. So, like, in his mind, it was like, I'll don a mask which has a open hole for his long nose to poke through, and they won't know it's me, and I'll aid them. And they're like, okay, come on, Usopp, it's fine. Like, they're not fooled in the least.
Yeah.
Well, no, Chopper and Luffy are fooled.
Oh,
but everyone else,
right. That's right.
Like,
they love Soga King. They think he's the coolest thing. And that's the one thing I always love about these little like interactions with the crew is like they're like Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp later on, like they're fascinated with like all like the boy things, like when Frankie then with the robots and all that, they love transformations, they love
Right.
superheroes and all that. So they swoon over Soga King.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But then so this is leading into the Enies Lobby arc, which like it is just them going to get Robin back, and I mean a lot goes down in this one. So hit some highlights. Like I think literally everyone in the crew gets a new power up in this arc.
Yep. Because this is one of the first times in a long time that everyone has their own fight almost basically.
Oh yeah. So what's like out of like all of them? What were some of like what are some highlight fights or highlight moments in these battles of them taking on CP9?
Chopper with Monster Point.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Because we never really mentioned that the way Chopper fights, because he being a Zoan devil fruit, he only has 3 forms. He can go from full animal, in between, to full whatever the other his base form is. So, but what he does is because he's a doctor, he has these little balls called rumble balls that it can basically like open up the limits. So he has like 6 forms, like he has all like the in between forms and all that. But he can only take 3 within like a 24-hour period or something like that. And so this fight makes him take takes 1 more, and he becomes this giant creature, this humongous like kaiju sized monster that like basically loses control.
Yeah, that was just that's definitely an epic moment, especially for Chopper, who he's held his own, but I think this is really when he shows him, like like he's not, we have the monster trio, Sanji, Luffy, and Zoro, in the group, but like that really showed. I think that was the big step up for Chopper to show, like when he needs to, he can be a powerhouse in the group as well. He's just not always that anxious to jump in the fight like the other 3 are. But I remember one of my favorite times though is Sanji, just figuring out his Diablo Jambe, if I said that right. Basically, the motherfucker figured out he could spin enough, he could light his foot on fire. And how fucking awesome is that for a man who kicks people? He can now kick
really cool.
with a flaming foot. he just kicks that damn hard, that damn fast. I don't know, that whole fight, which if I remember right, was it with another guy who was kind of like a chef too?
No. It was just it was when they finally get to Enies Lobby, you find out the CP9 who we already met is only like half of them. The other half are waiting at Enies Lobby, and so he fights the guy who's the wolf.
The wolf. Yeah. That's when he did that. I just remember it was like, I guess I'm not. Yeah, he fought like a giant dude on the train who could barely move. I think like Sanji maybe just kicked the shit out of him. Maybe I'm getting those mixed up. But like, I just remember being a cool moment on the train. But yeah, I really like that. Of course, Zoro finds another swordsman in Kaku, and dude, like I said, Kaku is so cool.
I love giraffes. They're my favorite animal.
Yeah, which we talk about that too. This is the first time that we've seen someone take a devil fruit at the current time. We've seen flashbacks like how Luffy ate his, how Buggy got his, but like this is, you literally see them like what's the leader of CP9 to do with the Mankind mask from WWF?
Oh, Spandam.
Spandam.
Yeah.
He like they got provided with some devil fruits, and they're like, what, try them, whatever. And like, I think they were like, some of them were kind of reluctant, and they each got one, and he got the giraffe fruit. But also because for reasons he has a square nose, kind of like Sanji, but it's a lot more cube,
or like Usopp.
Or Usopp, thank you, yeah. And for some reason that also applies that when he turned into a giraffe, he could turn to a perfect cube. I don't know. Because One Piece. but him and Zoro have a monster fucking sword battle though.
Yeah. Oh, it is insanity. And then like we also get introduced to Spandam's sword Funkfried, which ate a giraffe, or not a giraffe, but an elephant fruit.
Oh, that's right. That is. I forgot about his sword.
So fantastic.
Yeah. So we have that. We have Nami even gets a power up. She gets her perfect climate tact, which is using more of because Usopp worked on her staff a little bit more after he got some of the technology from Skypiea, right?
Yeah.
So like when she takes on what was her name, Khalifa,
yeah,
Khalifa, who got she got the soap one, right?
Yeah.
And she used it to like kind of make herself be able to hide, I believe. Like she kind of make herself invisible through the bubble illusions. We'll just go with that.
yeah. Well, she creates like mirages, essentially.
Yeah. But like, and then she just basically like, you find out like Nami can now literally create weather, and like electricity and stuff like. So she gets that. Zoro, he gets his Kyotoru, which I think was like just a giant fucking like hurricane of blades. I think he used.
I think this is the first time he Ashura, right?
Yeah, Ashura. So he instead of using 3-sword style, he uses 9-sword style.
That's right. Yeah. Which again, Zoro's such a fucking beast. Like I said, besides Luffy, if out of the Straw Hats, Zoro is my boy for sure.
And then the biggest power up was this is the introduction of Gear Second.
Yes. Yeah, we had like before we get out, saving Luffy for last. The last one that we also had though was that Usopp had got the Kabuto, his bigger slingshot.
hmm
and was able to,
Oh, that's
I mean-
right. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
we had to-
Soga King was
for-
the second form in
Yeah.
in all, right? Like,
that was kind of a level up for him in his own mind. Like, kind of like, which again, that's the thing with like Usopp, is confidence, and and not being so much of a coward is what he's working on. And through Soga King, he takes a little step up. So you got to appreciate that. But then yes, we get to Luffy, who's runs into Bluno, and yeah, we get Gear second, which funny little side thing. I remember it now, but I sure as shit couldn't remember that when we were doing the One Piece trivia at Akon. But I swore it was Rob Lucci who broke out Gear second on first, but yeah, apparently Bluno.
yeah,
Right, yeah, because the whole Aokiji fight proved to him, he's like you said earlier, he had to I'm not good enough for this, so I need to step it up, and so he has these techniques that he's kind of concocting in his head and all that, and what he basically does is he takes his body and he pumps blood through his veins so much that he basically he's so hot and powered up that he steam comes off of him almost like a train engine.
Right. And how he can do that? He's made of rubber. We're just gonna go with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One
And then-
Piece.
Is this
But
is this where he starts biting himself, or is that a later one?
no, that's towards the end of this arc.
So we'll get to that too. But yeah,
but-
Bluno has what was his devil fruit?
The door
Uh,
fruit.
The
yeah,
door,
he can
that's
make
right.
doors.
Yeah. And
One of the cool things in that, because it's not just Luffy getting I guess like a power up. He's also incorporating techniques that the CP9 uses. So they have what it was 5 or 6 little techniques that they all know how to do, like the finger gun. They can float on air. They can go really fast, and that's what Luffy picks up on. Is he finds out that to do that they all tap their feet 10 times real fast before they do that. So he learns how to do that in the moment.
Right. And again, we were talking about how he didn't just magically figure out how to make his blood boil. He's incorporating from what he's seeing around him. Again, dumb, not stupid.
And just to kind of take a step back to another huge emotional moment in this whole arc. Robin had basically given up. Once they got to the island, because nobody's ever gotten out of this island. And Frankie's just basically trying to fight this whole time. Well, they get to this point where the crew all make it to the roof next to the tower where they're being kept. And, they're basically having this standoff. And, Luffy, Spandam basically points up to the Marine symbol, the world government symbol. And he's like, you can't cross this symbol. It's, this is about the invincible world government and everything. And he basically gives Soga King the symbol, and he fucking blows the flag up, just showing they don't give a fuck about any of that. They're gonna get their crewmates back. And it's when Robin finally, cracks and just says that she wants to live, and she wants them to save them and everything.
Yeah. Which I'm not sure if we mentioned yet that she's the only one that can read these polygriffs. In case we did, I don't remember if we mentioned it in the Alabasta discussion.
We did not, and that's actually part of her being wanted by the world government because her island. And they did a pretty good backstory, but essentially her island was a bunch of archaeologists that were trying to uncover the truths of the Void Century, and I guess they were too close to a breakthrough, so their island, got Buster called by the Navy admiral, and they essentially destroyed their island, and she was the only one that survived, and it was actually, thanks to Aokiji, because he made a pathway for her to get away. So we kind of see this other duality of Aokiji, and how he's he's a Marine, but he's not an evil Marine or super upholding the law. He can see when things are being twisted and not done correctly. Yeah, so that's we finally get her backstory. She finally tells him that she wants to live.
Yeah,
and that's whenever they go into the fights.
Right. Yeah. Again. Yeah. Sorry, we kind of jumped past that because that was a major part of her character, and then just another emotion where like I said, like we call like in One Piece we call it manly tears. 'Cause, this is like people cry in this thing, but it's not like this isn't sappy. This is just the human element of these fantastical characters, which is
Oh, yeah.
just like so fucking cool. Especially in shonen, which we love a lot of shonen series, but not a lot of them hit this level. I think of humanity and characters.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's got so many like emotional moments, and just because I always combine Enies Lobby with Water 7,
Right.
because they're basically one and the same, like for the
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, they're two halves of the same coin, basically.
Right.
Yeah. We get the whole thing where Spandam basically threatens doing a Buster call and everything while the crew's still on the island. We get to see the doors that open up into the sea that the world government controls that goes to all their facilities. So we get our first hint of that. The second moment, because Luffy's essentially just going at it with Rob Bellucci,
Yeah.
and the rest of the crew's trying to get past this and get to that last bridge that makes it to the ship that will take Robin to Water 7, or not Water 7, Impel Down. And she's finally fighting for her life and everything, and Spandam's struggling, and all of a sudden out of nowhere his fucking face just explodes. And you just see the fucking distance, and you see like Sogeking standing on top of a tower, and you just hear like you see the subtitles for him screaming "Lock On" from the fucking this song. It was such a fucking moment, because they're all just fighting for their lives and everything, and they finally get to this moment, and she unlocks herself, and that whole fight with Luffy and them just goes on forever. And I think by the time Nami gets to Robin and everything, all these other ships are starting to show up at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had.
And-
we want to talk a little bit about the Rob Lucci thing, though, real quick.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He got the cheetah, I guess you want to call it.
Leopard.
Leopard.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leopard fruit. So he's basically a were-leopard with like
Yeah.
martial arts skills beyond this world. With like you said, the bullet finger or his quick steps. And that makes and again that makes Luffy take it up another notch with geared second. And that's where isn't that where he upped the Gatlin was on him?
Yeah, that was the final move was
the
Jet Gatling.
Jet Gatlin, where he already had a rapid punch, but now he just went from JoJo season 1 to season 3, and just beat the ever loving shit out of the man and his pigeon. But then like I said, then they get with Robin, and more ships are showing up, and then was it from one of those ships, or was it a guard in that bridge that Zoro runs into? Who had a?
I think it was one of the guys who started coming in, has that rust fruit or whatever.
Rust fruit. Which, my God, I'm waiting on a rematch.
Yeah, seriously.
Because
real quick before we get too far away, the Rob Lucci fight introduced not only Gear Second but also Gear Third, where Luffy basically blows air into his bones to make himself into basically a giant, or like make certain parts of his body into a giant.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That was like the giant.
That was one of the things.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I was going to mention too, because they've got this commotion going on outside. I think Spandam, like, something happened, and he thought he was talking to a Dendenmushi, but he accidentally hit the Buster call Dendenmushi.
Yes, that's right.
So all of the ships are honing in about the wreck shop on this island. You got a bunch of ships around that are trying to destroy the bridge that everyone's trying to escape on, and then all of a sudden this giant goddamn fist comes out of the tower, and like Rob Lucci goes sailing and lands on top of one of the ships.
Right.
Yeah, and you just can't like beat moments like that. It's so good.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Such a good moment.
Yeah, that's a huge like climax to that battle, to that arc, this emotional
Mhm.
arc. And this is like they've been battling other like pirates or warlords, or people trying to take over kingdoms. But this is them directly saying "fuck the government." Like you
Oh,
said,
yeah.
like with from
In a
burning
big
the
way,
flag,
yeah.
from burning the flag to taking on fuck the police, right? To like everything they're doing, they're like this is for their friend, and like like they didn't want to start it, but they're gonna sure shit finish it. But then yeah, one of the, you
Right.
said the thing is they had the one marine that had the rust fruit, and he actually destroys one of Zoro's swords. And like
Thankfully, not thankfully not the one that he got from his childhood friend, and thankfully
right,
not the cool demon sword. He got the one that was like a throwaway basically.
yeah, I think it was the one that was like because the one that he not it wasn't the one that he threw up and tested, the one that
No,
presented
I
him.
know.
The one he just gave him for being you are the first great swordsman I've seen in forever. Here's this other one. So that one got destroyed by the Rust guy, and like I hope Oda hadn't forgotten about that because I feel like that has to be he has to run into him again. Just be like, well, motherfucker,
You would
rust
think, yeah.
these blades. I just want to see,
Yeah.
even if it's not a real fight, I just want to see Zoro knock the shit out of that guy. 'Cause that's
Yeah,
just rude.
it was actually yeah the one that he gave him whenever he did the strength test or
Yeah,
whatever and
yeah.
let the sword fall. It was Yubashira. So his katanas that he had left was Sandai Katetsu and the Wado Ichimonji, which are the white and red ones.
Right.
Yeah, like it was really interesting, and I hate it, but I also love it because we know whenever one of his swords gets destroyed or something that we're gonna have a badass like intro to a new sword.
Oh, right.
That is true.
Yeah, and we holy shit, we got that, and we'll get to that soon.
We will. So yeah, so we'll wrapping up that they get, they manage to get away. They get Robin back, and they make their way back to get Frankie.
Okay, but hold on, how did they get away, Sean?
Look,
They got to a point where the island was going to be Buster called,
Look,
and then they
I'm-
heard. Is that the point you're getting to?
No, that's the point I forgot. Was trying to move along because I forgot it. Go ahead.
Oh my god, how?
I know, man.
Anyway, so it was looking bleak. Both sides of the bridge were destroyed, and they were just stuck on it. And Usopp all of a sudden had this epiphany, and he started hearing something, and he was like, "Everyone, jump into the water!" But it's like turbulent, and there's marine ships everywhere. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You just trust me and just jump into the water." So they all jump for it, and then all of a sudden you see that the Going Merry had made it like back to them, and they it's
yeah.
it's this like really serene like emotional moment of like the ship like getting back to them, but they weren't out of the fire yet, so to speak. So they had to make it through all these marine ships. We had this moment where Spandam was basically telling Robin that he would chase her to the ends of the earth and destroy all the things that she loves type stuff, and she basically gets to the back of the ship and uses her devil fruit, which is to create extra additional limbs and do all kinds of weird stuff like that. And she creates them all over him like hands and just basically like pummels the hell out of him and incapacitates him. And they use one of Frankie's techniques that he has through his cola power, which I don't think we got into, but yes, Frankie is a cola powered cyborg.
Yeah, he runs on soda.
Yeah, and they blast off from there and end up meeting back up with all the people from Water 7. And whenever they get so close to them, something happens to the ship and it ends up cracking in the center and splitting in two. So they have to end up making a decision, and they go onto the Water 7, all of the people's boats that were saved from that, and they end up giving the Going Merry a whole like send off, and torching it,
Yeah.
and man, it's just like, whew, that was an emotional moment on that one,
Yeah,
because
sorry, go ahead.
it just showed all those moments, all the history and stuff of them being with the ship and all the fun times they had on it. And, Zoro practicing and Usopp repairing, and Sanji making food in the kitchen and stuff, and then like they're saying, basically apologizing to the ship, and saying that we love the ship and everything, and then you hear this voice, and it's basically like the spirit of the Going Merry.
Yeah.
Just
and that's just not even fair, okay?
Yeah.
It's already
Oh, I
sad
know.
enough. And then to have the Mary say, "I love you guys," it's okay. Like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Oh man, like because there wasn't enough motions at all, and it's
Yeah.
like they show Usopp, and you see the tears streaming down under the mask and everything, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't handle this.
Dude, yeah, that was super emotional because that's really what they emphasized. Because I'm pretty sure that during like the arguments with Luffy and Usopp over this decision, they said like Luffy's not, or the Mary's not a ship; it's as much a part of the crew as we are. I think was a big argument. That really just set it home, showing like, because wasn't like the flashbacks had the spirit kind of watch them do those things.
Yeah, well, yeah, somewhat.
Something like that. Like they
and
kind of
then
showed it like that. If it's like like that spirit had been with them for a while because they loved the ship so much.
Yeah, it was just. Oh man, I'm not cracking up over here or breaking up or anything. I'm completely fine talking about this. It's not bringing back any of those old emotions.
No man crying on Jerry's end whatsoever.
Yeah,
happening right now. So that was like that hit hard. Like I've known a few people I've talked to about One Piece, and like they're like, I never thought I'd get feels over an inanimate object like a ship before, but man, it fucking hit with this one.
Yeah.
But then we have of course the post battle celebration.
Right.
Frankie,
get back to Water 7.
Yeah. Once they get back to Water, they get back to Water 7, get the celebration. Frankie has a it was a ship he had worked on, or was that
no? So
design?
what
was that?
It was? So he essentially stole the money, or the money that he stole. He was going to order something special, and what it was is it was the wood from the tree Adam, I believe is what it was. He essentially wanted to make his dream ship. And after all this stuff, he decided that he wanted to make the dream ship for the crew, which is really cool because at one point they tell his backstory, and him and Iceberg were actually working under another shipbuilder named Tom, who was a fishman. And his whole story arc was like he was being arrested by the world government and sentenced to death because he made Blackbeard's ship. Or not Blackbeard's, I'm sorry. He made Roger's ship.
The Oro Jackson.
Yeah. And so his whole thing, and it's just kind of one of those things of premonitions of his mentor made the previous Pirate King's ship, so he wants to make the ship for the future Pirate King. And it's really cool because before the Straw Hats showed up, you never would suspected that the Frankie family and all of their ilk would be working with the top shipwrights of the island to work and make this ship. But they all came together and worked on it. And in the meantime, you had your celebrations and everything, and everything kind of resolving. You even get this point where Aokiji shows up in secret while Robin's leaning up against the wall, and he essentially tells her that they're not going to be after her anymore.
But then we get the appearance of a vice admiral shows up, and they all freak out, and then the guy's walking up there, and all of a sudden Luffy just goes, "Oh, hey, Grandpa."
Yeah,
they find out that he is the grandson of a famous Marine.
Yeah, and it's great because up until now we hadn't seen him since we saw Kobe and them last, and we find out that this person that was training Kobe and Helmeppo to become Marines. That was a scary vice admiral that just tore through a wall, punched Luffy, and everybody was shocked that he actually hurt Luffy. Was actually his grandfather, which was really, really cool, really interesting, and it really kind of turned things on its head a little bit.
Right.
I also love that he just like also while they're fixing the wall and all that, he just like subtly drops the hint that or the fact that the revolutionary leader Dragon is actually Luffy's father.
Yeah, and everybody just minds explode and everything. That was it was a really really incredible moment that they all kind of had, and I think they kind of wrap it up with revealing the ship, the new ship. Yeah, Thousand Sunny will the ship that will sail on 1,000 seas, and it's the dream ship. It's got this like wild like lion mask that doesn't really look like a lion at all. It's humongous. Like I feel like it's probably like 7 to 8 times bigger than the Mary was at least.
Well, for sure, yeah.
And so this whole time, like they're trying to talk Frankie into going with him, and you could tell he really, really wants to, but he's not admitting it, and he's like just trying to play it cool. So what do? His family steals his Speedo, and so he has to chase. He's chasing after him for his Speedo, just basically butt naked, going through town, and everybody's like screaming and everything, and they give it to Luffy last, and he's holding it in the air, and basically like tells them to sail with them, and he agrees and ends up becoming their shipwright for the Thousand Sunny, and I believe that's kind of where we leave off. With the exception of the rest of the crew getting new bounties and Luffy and Zoro getting higher bounties because they broke into a fucking government facility and wiped the floor with everyone.
Yeah. Now this is when, like, say, everyone got their official bounty. Even although like Chopper got classified as a pet, so his was only like 50 berries. Which we'll see someone else has that same curse a little bit later. But,
Sanji got his, and it was they could never get his face, so they just did a sketch.
and it makes him look this horrific.
It's so funny.
But
and then the whole thing wraps up with like this with once the Straw Hats leave the island, all that it cuts to a whole other island where Ace shows up again in the story. Like this whole time he had been searching for somebody, and he finally find out that the person he was searching for was Blackbeard, because Blackbeard also used to be on the same crew as him, and all under Whitebeard. Whitebeard had like 4 or 5 different divisions, and so Ace is the 2nd division leader, and Teach was the 4th. Or no, he was under the 4th and killed his commander to steal. We find out that he now has a devil fruit. He has the darkness fruit.
Yummy no me.
And in case I don't fully, I don't know if we fully. I think we did say it, but just in case, if y'all have forgotten, Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach, is the guy that was eating pie and talking about following your dreams earlier on.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Want to make sure that's clear. So like they ran into him early, and then of course we got 2 amazing arcs later. It comes back to it. And then
and I mean, like, what they first mentioned him back in Drum Island, and then Ace mentioned him in Alabasta, and then he popped up right before Sky Island, and like, now here he is again in the flesh, and like we see him with his crew, which is this odd like bunch, and then it's just Ace, and I just love that Blackbeard's like, hey, you guys need to get the fuck out of here. Like,
right,
it's just about to go down.
Yeah, because they have a huge fight, which is like real interesting too, because you find out like the dark fruit is like super powerful, but like makes Blackbeard though like super susceptible to damage though, because he
it's the one Logia fruit that he can't turn his body into like corporeal almost, or into the element, but he can basically create black holes and like suck things in, and he cancels out devil fruit powers by touching them.
Yeah, he's like basically a void. So, after we got these amazing fights in the Rob Lucci Luffy fight, we think we're going to get a little bit of a rest. And then we get this like, just out of nowhere left field fight between Ace and Blackbeard. And like, honestly, bringing it up reminds me that, I started One Piece back on 4Kids, fell off of for the longest time, and then saw some stuff at a convention that I thought was really cool. So I was thinking about it, and then a friend like kind of sealed the deal by showing me this fight on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So Yeah, so I actually didn't get the first time I watched this fight was on a YouTube video. I don't know, it was probably an AMV with Disturbed in the background or something. Who the fuck knows?
Lincoln Park, sir. It's always
Lincoln Park, right?
That good old era of AMVs. I know I had a whole bunch of them saved off YouTube back in the day.
You're right.
But
But
go ahead.
yeah, well, we essentially get to them like just going at it, like fighting each other off, and we end with this like just this huge scene. And correct me if I'm wrong, and it's just half of the island is fire and half of it is darkness, and it's this huge half orb, and that's just kind of where they leave it, right?
Yeah. We don't find the outcome out for quite some time.
Yeah, and then I think after that we're hopping into this I guess like the Devil Sea or the Florian Triangle, right?
Yes.
Where of course it's a nod to the Bermuda Triangle.
Well,
with things going missing and stuff. What's up?
Sorry, real quick. Just by looking at the One Piece wiki, because again, this is unfortunately, I know I've read or watched all this, but this is where my memory, as y'all have seen, kind of gets murkier. But looking at the wiki, it mentioned that Shanks actually interrupt the fight, so he shows up and it actually introduces the four emperors. Like I guess it discusses it there is what it's saying.
Because
it says like Shanks makes his move to protect Whitebeard, supporting Ace from a familiar face of horrific new power, which we know that's Blackbeard. So I guess at this point, Ace and Blackbeard battle. The four emperors are introduced. So at least they're mentioning the concept of the four pirate emperors.
Right. Yeah.
So that is also a huge thing.
Yeah. The main thing I remember about that is I remember Shanks going and talking to Whitebeard about Ace's movements and him going after Blackbeard. And
maybe that's what it was. Him trying to tell him to stop Ace from going. Maybe that's what it was.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
Again, I'm murky, just kind of going off the notes here, but yeah.
Right.
I just want to mention that. With the four pirate emperors, which is Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, and
Shanks.
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 Shanks at this point. They're basically the four emperors of the pirates who are like the government knows they exist and they kind of let them be. They're the top dogs of pirates.
Yeah, they're a force of nature if you try to fuck with them.
Right. Okay, then the crew goes to the Florian Triangle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and they're all talking about like rumors and stuff of it and how there are ghost ships and just lots of scary shit here. And of course, one of the first things that they pop into is a giant, like haunted looking ship, which is interesting, right? Because isn't the ship even bigger than the ship that they just got? Like it's just this massive ship.
Yeah,
if I remember right. Yeah,
I remember, they end up having to climb up onto it.
Yeah. So I think it's what Luffy ends up going. I want to say Nami draws the short straw on that one. And I can't remember who else, but they get up there and it's like super creepy and they find a skeleton, but it ends up being alive, right?
Right. Yeah.
And thus we get introduced to Brook, the skeleton.
Well, not only is it a live skeleton, but the skeleton with a giant afro.
Yeah. He's very, very much modeled after Slash.
Yeah, from Guns N' Roses, if y'all don't know.
Yeah.
Top hat.
Yeah.
The big curly hair. Yeah, and no shades, but at least not now, because he doesn't need them. Because he is a skeleton.
Yeah, and then it kind of continues this little ongoing joke that Luffy, because Luffy's whole thing of getting on the Grand Line is he wants to be Pirate King and he wants to amass a crew. So he always talks about getting new crew members and all that. And there's an ongoing joke where he always like asks people to join the crew and and they deny him and all that. And so the first thing he says to him is, "Join my crew," and Brook says, "Sure." And then everyone else's mouth drops into the floor and all that.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because for the longest time he had mentioned wanting a musician on the crew. So it's really interesting how it went down with him getting on the boat and basically just saying that like he would join the crew, but he has to do something else first, and kind of reveals a plot that we're going to get to, much later with him and his soul being stolen.
Right.
And it's just, it kind of opens us up to, like, we've had all these really interesting scenarios and themes going on through it, but it's like, this is the first time we've really gotten a big horror theme going. And I can't remember, does he mention exactly what was stolen from him or what he needs to get back?
Oh man,
I can't remember now.
Yeah. So okay, we're just going through the arc, so I'll just say it. Essentially, there's a pirate that is one of the Shichibukai, or the Seven Warlords of the Sea, which we were introduced to Mihawk quite a while back. And of course, Crocodile, was the another big one that we hit. So Gecko Moria is the one that we're being introduced on this island.
right.
And it's told that he has the ability to steal shadows, and once your shadow is stolen, you can't go out into the sun or you die.
Yeah.
Pretty much how this whole arc unfolds, because it's actually a pretty short arc. Am I right?
Like I said,
Yeah,
sadly,
overall.
Yeah, it's one of the shorter ones, but it's kind of interesting. So Gecko Moria has this ability where he can steal a shadow from a living person, basically make a puppet or something like that, and he puts the shadow into them, and then he has control over them. We get a lot of really interesting like things into this, but it's like the theme is probably the best, right? Just how like horror it is, and like Luffy's first introduction to zombies is really great.
Actually, throughout the video, I've got pictures and some gifs playing throughout, and one of them is Luffy walking up to the zombie, crawling out the grave, and going, "What is it, like they're or something?" He just pushes it back down in, right? Super casually. Like, so y'all really, we got a clip of that at least cycling through.
Yeah. Because he thinks that the zombies are just really sick old men, so they need to go back to bed.
But
it's so perfect.
So we got like I said, I want to get through this in one more arc before we have to call it a night. So let's kind of hit some high points in this one. Like you said, it's not a super long one, but we get some pretty big events that go down. Like Zoro faces off with another samurai, right?
Yeah, it's actually Ryuma, which is cool because Oda did a bunch of little one-shots called Wanted a while back.
Right.
And one of those had to do with basically a story of Ryuma, which, I think was something that he was going to work on at one point, but didn't. But he pretty much proves himself to be a swordsman, and Ryuma gives him Shisui after they finish their fight.
Because he is controlled. Because Ryuma is controlled by Moria, right? He's one of his subordinates. Because he has a shadow. And it's also our first little glimpse at another country that we're going to visit later on. Just based off of Ryuma's clothing, and he's very traditional samurai-esque. Other than the fact that he's a zombie. But yeah, his body was essentially, and that's a big thing of what Mori would do. He would take these really strong, powerful bodies, and he would put shadows in them, and the more shadows you stuck in them, the stronger they were. So we had that. We had the fight with Sanji and fucking character that I can't even remember, but his big beef with him had to do with him having an invisible fruit, which was
Absalom.
Absalom. That's it.
He was like a patchwork creature. Like he had he had like a leopard face and elephant chest or something like that. It was weird. Like, he had like different animal parts,
and like the muscles of a gorilla and stuff like that. Yeah.
And we also kind of went over the Ryuma actually had Brook's shadow in him. So like the whole time that Zoro's fighting him, he basically has Brook's personality in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So occasionally we'll get that laugh or something like that. And whenever he was first walking up, whenever we had, I think it was Usopp and Nami and them were captured, they thought that it was Brook, and he like did a quick attack or whatever and knocked him out, and we saw that it wasn't in fact Brook. So we get the fight with Sanji and Absalom, and then there's this character that they introduce us to called Lola, and she's this just giant hippopotamus with a wedding dress that's like always trying to like get married, and actually her and Nami kind of become friends. The fight with Moria and Luffy was pretty interesting because it was essentially Luffy fighting Moria's shadow for the most part,
Right.
and then him releasing this giant that he had captured and filled up with souls, and it was just this ridiculously powerful thing. We found out that there were inhabitants still on the islands that could not leave the island, which is essentially a ship, because they couldn't go out into the sun or else they'd die. So what they had been doing is taking out smaller monsters and stealing the shadows, and they decided like, oh well, we're gonna make you stronger. So they started fucking stuffing Luffy with shadows.
Yeah.
And
Well, then they were stuffing him full of shadows because in the Moria fight, he stole Luffy's shadow and put it in the giant creature orbs.
and that's what woke it up.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So essentially, and that's right, because it had Luffy's personality. And I completely forgot about that. We also got the great introduction of the fucking the Megazord that they made.
Great Emperor.
Yes, the Great Emperor Frankie, and it was fucking was it Zoro and Sanji as the legs, and Usopp as one of the arms, and then I think Chopper as the head.
Yeah.
And Robin was supposed to be the other arm, but she's like, no, it's too embarrassing. They were like, no.
It's literally just like I said, Frankie's standing on their shoulders, Usopp straddling his arm and making his arms into like a claw. Like it's so fucking silly, but it's such a great moment because like I like that even Zoro and Sanji, like, because like they look like they were hesitant, but then all of a sudden they're all about it because they're young guys too. Like everyone loves giant robots. But yeah, so we get Nightmare Luffy when he gets stuffed full of shadows, which is just a blue, huge Luffy, and it's so fucking cool looking. And we have the fight with Moria, and of course, like they eventually, the fight goes down. Luffy comes out, and we get Brook join. I want to talk a little bit about Brook before we move on to the next one because we got so many other characters to talk about here in a second.
Oh yeah.
But Brook, he is a skeleton. Do we get his backstory right at this point?
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we didn't get it until this arc was they were like celebrating.
Well, that's what I mean. Like after the battle, once he officially joins the crew, we find out he has ties to someone we met a long time ago, a certain whale trying to get to the Grand Line.
Yes,
which I loved that it went back to that's the crew. It was Brooks's crew that Laboon had been waiting for all that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just another feels moment.
Yeah, and it was like because we got that little bit, and we found out that he knew about Laboon before I think they got to the island, really, because he had kind of told that much, but then we get the resolution afterwards. Another one that I left out that I forgot about, honestly, my apologies, but it was Perona versus Usopp.
Oh yeah.
Perona had this little ghost fruit where she could immobilize people by making them negative, and she ended up using it on Usopp, and it didn't work, and it's because he's always already negative. So we got that like your one weakness face from Enel and Luffy, the Enel Luffy fight out of her.
Yeah.
So eventually Usopp beats her with like fear or whatever because she can't do anything to him.
Right.
Which was real great, but yeah, they finally ended up defeating I think it was Oris Jr. was the giant that they had, and then finish off Moria after he consumed a bunch of shadows. And then the sunlight finally came through on this island. Luffy had passed out from the whole struggle. Perona was trying to leave, so she was packing all this stuff up. And all of a sudden, this large, imposing figure popped up. And he had this kind of hoodie situation going on. He had a little hat with little bear ears. And he was carrying this book. And he essentially asked her the question, if you could go on a vacation anywhere, where would you want to go? And she answers it, and all of a sudden he like swipes his arm and she just vanishes.
Yeah.
So we're like, what's going on here? What's up with this person? And he shows like they've got this whole struggle over with, the sun's getting ready to shine and everything, and all of a sudden this just monolith of a person shows up, and they're like, who the hell are you? They go and try doing attacks, and they don't have any effect. And he pretty much comes up and he says, I think at that point he does a bomb, right? He says if there's anything, or what is it? He hits them, he touches them, and it like basically sends shocks through them, and hurts them. And he's like telling, I think Luffy, or like trying to get them to give Luffy to him, and they deny it. So he makes this humongous like paw print bomb, and it just knocks everyone unconscious. So he's going to pick up Luffy, and all of a sudden Zoro jumps up and does a slice on him, which has no effect. And I think Sanji woke up at that time too, and the character's name ended up being Bartholomew Kuma, who is another one of the Shichibukai. So like, we've already met these others who are on a certain level, so we kind of know what to expect from these warlords at this point. They're like, not to be trifled with. And apparently this is one like, really, really powerful one. So Zoro ends up knocking Sanji out, just due to like his own selfish, like, if I go with you, you'll let everyone else go. But what ends up happening is Kuma pulls something out of Luffy, and he's got this red bubble, and he's like, this is all of the pain that he's taken through this entire like up until this point. If you agree to take it, I'll leave everyone be. So of course Zoro, being the person he is, decides it. And at that point, like, Kuma just kind of swipes a little bubble over to him, and it just sends shocks through Zoro's entire body. And so they kind of like walk off, and then it shows like the next day, and everybody's enjoying the sunlight, and people are waking up. Sanji comes to and remembers that Zoro was left alone with that person, and they're all trying to figure out what happened to this warlord that just showed up out of nowhere. And Sanji goes looking, and he gets to this field, and he sees Zoro just standing up with his arms crossed. And he says, what happened? And Zoro just says nothing, nothing at all. And you could tell he's just really fucked up, and it zooms out, and there's just blood everywhere.
Yeah, it's like he's dripping blood all over his body, and all around him on the walls and rocks and whatever is there is just blood splattered. That was such a cool moment for Zoro.
Yeah.
For me. Just the whole nothing. And you could tell he's fucked up. He took, like I say, every bit of pain Luffy had, it just got unleashed onto him. But yeah, so that huge moment, which again, showing how strong they're still out there. No matter how badass Luffy and them have gotten so far, there's still monsters in this world.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like Mike was saying, we got the taste of that with Aokiji, like earlier on. But yeah, this and it's one of those things of like, we finally overcame this hurdle, this humongous struggle, and everything's good, and then bam, they throw this one character at you that's just like a unstoppable force. And then we kind of get this cool moment, since all of the since Moria was defeated, everyone's shadows went back into themselves. We actually get to meet Lola, who is really a pirate called Lin Lin. She's a pirate captain, and she's like, this notorious person for proposing to people and stuff. They start to have their party, and Brook starts playing this song called Bink Sake.
Oh,
and as he's playing it, you kind of see this scene unfold, of his past, and joining a crew, that wants to sell the Grand Line, and they're all like musicians and everything. And, it's just showing kind of their struggles growing through the Grand Line, and the fights that they've had and won, and all this stuff. And they get to this point where, you know, the Grand Line is not like easy on anyone. Everyone has their own struggles on it, and you find out that they got into a fight with a crew that basically poisoned their weapons. And earlier in it, you get this whole scene where they're talking about Brooke eating a devil fruit, and you know, I don't know what it did. There's no change, you know. It's this weird thing, and they're all on the ship, and a lot of them are dying. So you know, one of the things that they decide to do, you know, the one last thing is they start playing this Bink Sake, which is something that they all did together. But as it goes on, they start dropping dead, and he's, you know, just basically going through. It's like, oh, quartet, you know, trio, duo, and then he gets to that point where it's a solo, and he's the last one got was the soul. Living skeleton, as you were.
Yeah. Where sorry, technical difficulty right there. We just cut out when you were saying that. But yeah, basically they all started dropping dead, and Brooke was the last one, and then he realized that he had the what was the fruit called again?
It was a soul fruit.
Soul fruit.
And
it's what kept him alive. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so he fell over dead, and his soul left his body, and it took him so long to find it because it was in the Florian Triangle that whenever he got back to it, his body was just a skeleton, and that's why he's Brooke the Skeleton.
Yeah. And like talking about like hearing him play the Bink Sake won't even do it justice.
Yeah.
Like obviously wait till you get to it, but if you look up Bink Sake, you can at least hear the song. It's so good and so sad with that backstory to it, you know. And once you know when they're playing it for that is another, again, it'll hit you in the feels, brother. Like it is. Like One Piece is no joke when wanting to make you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a really good arc. And it was a very fairly short arc from what I can remember. Pretty quick to get through. I think most of the fights only took like an episode or two.
Right.
Except for, you know, Luffy's, how they're gonna do.
Of course.
Yeah.
But then we so they're the next island, the last little arc we're gonna talk about for this session. We get to they're trying to find their way to get to the Fishman Island. Is the next thing, but they stop at a Sabari Archipelago.
Right. Well, okay, small little detour because you know how we have to talk about our arcs in between arcs.
Sure.
We see this masked man, and for some reason he's like really pissed off at Sanji, and we don't know why. And they end up. We also get reintroduced to Hachi, which, you know, was the swordsman on Arlong's crew. So huge throwback, you know, so many hundreds of episodes. You know, just to make it short, we're trying to figure out why this masked person hates Sanji so much. They get into a fight. They're basically a biker gang. Well, whenever they finally destroy his mask, his face ends up looking exactly like Sanji's on the wanted poster.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about that.
Sanji gets pissed because he already hates the wanted poster, so he hates the fact of this ridiculous story. So he basically just pummels the guy into re-surgery and makes him pretty.
So funny.
Yeah. I forgot all about that, to be honest. That's great.
So they essentially get hooked up with Hachi and his mermaid friend Cammy, which is not yet. Sorry, not yet. No, we do. Yeah. So we get hooked up with them, which is our first mermaid we see. So they make it to this island called Sabati, and it's essentially a lot of really, really large trees that have, you know, created this these separate islands that all have different things on them. But it's also the first real bit that we actually get to see celestial dragons.
Yes.
The celestial dragons are like, you know, the rulers of the world, and like the people that are like over the Marines and everything. Like they basically control the Marines. And they're just, you know, exactly how you expect from like a super rich ruling class where they're just really like, you know, don't know anything about the world. They're very stuck up. And, you know, most of them have like, you find out slaves is like a huge thing to them. Like,
Yeah.
I think when we first see them, you actually have somebody. There's a giant that's a slave that one of them is like riding on. And it's like, this is really fucked up. I think something else that they mentioned is Cammy and Hachi have to get into disguises because there's something against fishmen and mermaids and stuff for this island. And like one of their big things is they have to find a way to get to Fishman Island, and they find out that they have to bubble coat their ship in order to go down to get to the next really big ocean to travel to find the One Piece, right?
Right.
Yeah, because this whole thing, this is like the exact halfway mark of the Grand Line, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Because then they have to basically go under the Red Line, which is the giant landmass that goes around the whole world, and they have to go under it where that's where Fishman Island is.
Exactly. Yeah, and the only people that have access to that is like Marines and stuff. To go actually over the red line. So that's why a lot of pirates and stuff have to go under. In the span of everything happening on this island, they do they run into Rayleigh at this point before the whole scene with Cammy and the Celestial Dragons and everything?
I believe so. I believe Rayleigh gets introduced at some point because don't they meet at that bar or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they basically find someone that can coat their ship for them, but they're waiting for them to like, you know, get back to this bar. In the meantime, Cammy gets captured, and you find out that she's going to be auctioned off because this is some fucked up, you know, slavery shit that they have going on here. So, you know, Luffy's not having it. The rest of the crew's not having it. And Hachi's trying to be like, you know, let's just keep it low. We'll just you know, win her in this auction, and then we can get out and everything. And essentially, what happens, like, you have all of these people that are being auctioned that have these collars on their neck that'll explode if anything happens to them. Another thing, really, really big to mention that they find out at the bar whenever they get there. I cannot remember who Rayleigh's person that he was with, the owner of the bar. But essentially, she's like giving them all this information. And one of the things that she reveals is that there are other, you know, young upstarts that you need to know about that have basically been traveling the Grand Line at the same time as them, and it kind of gives us glimpses of all these, you know, new characters and stuff. And it's kind of cool to think, you know, like, oh yeah, the directions they mentioned a long time ago that everyone's directions through the Grand Line is going to be different. So all of their adventures and everything during the Grand Line would all be different as well. You know, like they would have different encounters and different interactions with people. So they just kind of have this like really, really interesting addition with that there. You know, you have these people, and then they also announced that, like, you know, one of them is has a higher bounty than even Luffy and Zoro. But we get to this whole
but that's basically the 11 supernovas is what you kind of find out that and Luffy and Zoro are since they're the ones that had the bounties first, got kind of grouped in with these people that all came from different West Blue, North Blue, all came in, like you said, in different directions. Now we'll kind of just like get into that just really quick here. Like, what were some like, I know your favorite, Jerry, for sure, out of this, as well as, you know, mine. But like, Mike, what out of the supernovas, like, who's like what are some of your favorite guns?
Let's see. Well, I mean, when they're introduced, probably just I like Kid and Drake. But then as we go on in the story, and you know, because these guys, all of them kind of end up being pretty major parts in the story. They can like in and out. I really like Beige a lot. I think he's a pretty funny character.
Right.
Yeah, really interesting power too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Law's I enjoy Law. And then I actually really like Apu a lot too.
Mhm.
oh, nice. Yeah. Each one of them, like you said, like Eustace Kid with his the magnet power is like super fucking awesome. Beige with that was it Fortress?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically he is like he's technically his cruise ship. Like then he basically had like he can house everyone inside of him.
Yeah, like they're definitely cool and like, but like, yeah, we have to talk about Law and Beppo because me and Jerry are the hosts. because yeah, we have Law, who is a well, Jerry, why don't you break down Law for us?
So Law, known as the Surgeon of Death, he was just a really interesting character. Like, you know, it's kind of funny because they reference like animals with every character, and I think his was like some kind of like little sea lion or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But he's kind of, and it's interesting because I don't normally like this type of character, but he's one of those like real, like, I don't know, sort of like, oh, you know, fuck you or whatever. I'm on my own. Like I'm too cool for school types of
I
characters.
mean, like literally introduced to him with him flipping off the crew, which
Yeah.
the audience has seen. I have that as a still in the
Yeah,
interview
yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a scene where him and Eustace Kid were both in a bar, and they're like Eustace was like mean mugging him, and he just basically flips him off. He's got all these like tattoos and a giant sword, which I was, you know, immediately I start trying to pick out like who's going to fight who and a thing. So I was like, oh, he's got a sword. He's going to end up fighting Zoro, you know. But they really kind of turned the formula on its head in this arc, because we get to this point in this auction house, right? And you kind of see some of them scattered throughout it, and you keep seeing, like, from Law's perspective, there's also a fucking polar bear with him in a jumpsuit.
Yes, there is.
Which is not the strangest thing we've seen, right? Because we've seen Chopper and like weapons that turn into animals, but it's just this fucking polar bear, you know, that's hanging out, orange jumpsuit and everything. And it seems like all of Law's crew members have like an animal motif because they all have like a penguin hat or something like that, you know, going on.
Yeah.
But we get into this really like I don't know, emotional scene in this auction house where they're like, you know, we have this plan, we're gonna get Cammy back, we're just gonna bid on her, and these celestial dragons are also there, and they're just like, you know, snot-nosed, like snobby ass people, and they bring out Cammy, and one of the celestial dragon's son bids, you know, ridiculously high that nobody could match, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I know I do this like all the time to just mention like something that I forgot to, but when she was locked up, there were a bunch of people in there, and one of the people that she was locked up with that was trying to like calm her down was like this scraggly haired old dude with glasses and everything that was locked up as well. And we get to this point where, you know, she just got bid on. Nobody can outbid this guy. And, you know, Hachi's like trying to stop Luffy from doing something. And the celestial dragon sees that he's a fishman and ends up shooting Hachi. And it just sent Luffy over the edge. And, you know, this whole arc, they're telling us like these people can't be touched. They are the government. They are the absolute power in this world. Like, they're basically gods and just untouchable. And this little shit stain is over here celebrating that he, you know, won Cammy in the slavery auction and just got another fishman by shooting him.
Yeah, which really does show like how low fishmen are kind of in the world.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
like him
For
shooting
sure,
him,
yeah.
not only just because he's a celestial dragon, just because fishmen are looked as less than human. So it's
Yeah.
like that's a big thing, showing kind of the world of like the, you know, the class system as well as racism that exists within the One Piece world.
Right. And Luffy just kind of, he gets in that serious mode. How Mike was talking about, like
Yeah.
in the last episode, where his like pupils kind of do that thing where you can tell like he is not fucking around, and he does that slow walk down the stairs. And the celestial dragon's just like, what are you gonna do? I think he tried shooting at him a couple times.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
And Luffy just didn't even bother like dodging. And he just delivers like probably the most climactic punch in the series so far to this fucking guy. And if you're watching the anime, it tears away the color. Like it goes
Yeah,
into
he,
black
he,
and
he
white.
punches the color out of him.
He does.
Yeah,
And,
he hits them so fucking
and
hard.
because I love you people, you've also been seeing that GIF play throughout our videos. And now you know the context of Luffy punching the color out of this man's world. And he so
Yeah.
deserved it.
And it's literally this moment where he does this, and everyone in the room just kind of gasps, except for some of the supernovas are like, "Fucking A, right, you did that."
Right.
But at that moment, I think one of the other celestial dragons essentially do their big call on the Marines and stuff, and apparently they have like this. Kind of emergency button that they press where a whole fleet of fucking Marines comes at them, and of course they make kind of short work of everything that's going on in the auction house.
Yeah.
Not Rayleigh, Cammy has this collar. I think Zoro slides. Dang it.
Oh, sorry about
He must
that.
be him.
Lost
Oh.
y'all for a second. You got to Zoro slicing the collar off Cammy.
Right, and then that scraggly old man comes up and is looking at the collar because it's like this ticking time bomb, and he just snatches at it, and it doesn't go off on her neck or whatever, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? And you find out that he's Rayleigh, the person that they were looking for, and the bartender's name was Shaky. I forgot about that.
Okay.
But she was the one that gave him all the information.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, you've got the outside of this place getting surrounded by Marines, and all of their ilk, and they're like, getting ready to figure out the situation. I think everyone else is leaving through a different side, but you have like the big three, like walking out in front, like you've got Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy, Eustace Kid, and Trafalgar Law. And like it's kind of like your like moment, like, oh, this is interesting. There's a weird like vibe coming off of this, and they all three come out, and they basically have like their top people in their crew with them, and we get this this nice representation of like what they're all about and like how they all fight, and one of them's like making giant metal arms, like sucking in all the guns and ammo and stuff from the Marines and just devastating them with that. And then you've got one that's like swapping their body parts like with cannonballs and stuff like that. And it's just like this just insane moment of a fight that happens.
And you have a giant polar bear in an orange jumpsuit just flies doing martial art kicking the shit out of Marines. And this is why, just letting y'all know, was it your first cosplay, Jerry? Because it was mine, but we cosplayed Law and Beppo the polar bear, and our first time ever cosplaying when we went to A-Kon, because I fell in love with Beppo right away, and of course Jerry loved Law. We're like, yeah, we got to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. We get everybody's like getting away. We have this this other character that pops up. Oh, and I'm forgetting his name. Oh no!
Is it was it the other admiral that shows up? The Keith?
No, not yet. I was thinking of the vice admiral, I believe, that showed up. It was the kid with the giant axe.
Oh yeah. He's like he was big with the hockey at that point. Because he was leading an army of Kumas, because you find out in Thriller Bark that Kuma was becoming a robot or a cyborg, and then
Right.
they come in and it's all doesn't he have like the army of them with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the army of Kuma robots. That's basically shooting laser beams at everybody. And then, like, yes, you get the other side of town, and who he's trying to contact, and you see this person that's just kind of like chilling, and he's kind of got like this sort of like lazy air about him, and it ends up you find out that it's Kizaru. Yeah, what can we say about him? Like, he's dressed, a lot like Aokiji was dressed, where he's got like the formal suit and everything, but instead of a blue kind of theme, he's got a yellow theme.
Yeah, yellow pinstripe looks very much like you would see a Yakuza in Japan. He looks like a gangster, but he's wearing the marine coat. And which, of course, Aokiji and him are modeled after Japanese actors whose names I don't have in front of me. But yeah, Oda actually modeled them, and another one we'll get to later when he shows up are modeled after like famous Japanese actors who are known for kind of the mobster movies and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, it was just a really really interesting thing, and he actually popped up in the town with Apu and with Drake and all of them, and was shooting like laser beams, and they were like, "Oh, we got to get out of here," and like you find out that he has the light power, like he's a Zoan type that has light, and he can travel at the speed of light, and it's just so like devastating to see. And I think Scratchman actually kind of saved him in this one, because he was playing music. Scratchman, by the way, ends up being this like weird music devil fruit user that can damage people with music.
Yeah.
And he ends up blowing up his top half, and I guess like it's taking him time to regenerate. So they all get out of town. We also find out, that Drake's ability is he's a T-Rex. Zoan.
Love it.
Yeah. And it's just like we get introduced to so many cool abilities in this. I think we got to a point where they talked to Rayleigh about doing their ship, and all of this excitement and everything. The Kuma bots are just like wreaking havoc, and they're like really hardy. Like I think it took three of the supernovas just to take one down, right?
They're tough. Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Right, and so as our crew's like taking one down, and then Sentamaru, I think, was the name of that other character.
That's his name.
Yeah, he was there like fighting and trying to oversee it and stuff. The fucking real Kuma shows up.
Yeah.
And it like gets like all of a sudden he just starts hitting the Straw Hats, and they just vanish. I can't remember what the order was that they hit them in, but I think like maybe Zoro or Sanji were first. And at this point, we don't know what his ability is. We just know that he's like going and doing like a slap, and then all of a sudden they're not there. And just one by one, Luffy is like losing his crew, and he doesn't understand what's happening, because they've overcome anything that they've done up until this point. And just the episode kind of like, or that issue kind of concludes with him, hitting Luffy last, and Luffy just poofing. I think one of the big points about it that I almost miss is Rayleigh comes in to save them and everything, but in the end he's just like run, and then that's when Kuma comes in and starts doing his thing. We just kind of end on this like tragic note of like, what happened to the Straw Hat crew.
Yeah, because like the way they do it too is just so, man, like heart wrenching, because you're just seeing it one by one, and there's nothing he can do. And what like really hits hard is for Brook, who has lived so long without his crew. He finally got one, and almost immediately he's separated from them again. Like to me, that's just like, it's heartbreaking. You see Luffy like that moment of Luffy like, I'm powerless to stop this. You know,
Yeah.
like there's still all these beasts in there, and they all, yeah, you don't know where to go, and then finally you just see him swipe Luffy,
Yeah.
and he goes, and that's where we're gonna leave y'all as well, 'cause, yeah,
Okay.
we got
But
a
hold
last
on.
minute
There were-
thoughts, but yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up here in a second.
Yeah, last minute thought, and then this is it. I there were like a few couple like I couldn't remember where they took place, so I didn't know when to mention them, and then
Right.
it hit me that they did mention it. Rayleigh was revealed to be Roger's right hand man, his
Yeah.
second in the crew. He also revealed that the Viver card that Luffy had of Ace, there was something weird going on with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like smoldering a little bit, so
Yep.
we didn't know what to think of that. And then there was the point of Rayleigh saying that he knew what was at the end of the Grand Line, and Usopp and them were like, "Oh yeah, tell us." And Luffy was like, "Hell no, it's about the adventure. Don't tell us a goddamn thing," you know.
Right.
Which
Yep,
you
yep.
know is in that fashion. So we get those things, and then the crew ends up poofing.
Yeah, again, it's like I hated that we had to kind of rush this. We're not trying to keep these videos at 2 hours, and we're about to go a few minutes over because I do want to talk. It's such a major arc, with so many new characters introduced, the tragic ending with the Straw Hats all being separated, learning about Rayleigh, and just everything is like it's a huge one, and it was definitely to me this was a big turning point in One Piece because I always argued that after Skypia, it took a big turn for even the better, because the Water 7 and all that we've already covered in this video, but and then this it just hits a next peak. You know what I mean? Like One Piece doesn't go to one peak and then start going down. It finds another one right behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was always like one of the great things about the series in general is just how it picks itself back up and just makes it even better.
Oh yeah, for sure. But okay, that's gonna have to do it for this round. We got a lot covered again, but man, it's One Piece, and we know nobody wants to sit back for an 8-hour video, even though we could probably keep going.
Right.
But I want to thank everyone who tuned in to listen. We appreciate y'all for sitting through yet another 2-hour long video.
And thank you, Mike, for joining us
Yes,
again.
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me, guys. And I love this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man. And if y'all, for those that have listened and have known this, this part, what's some of your highlights from what we've covered on this video? And let us know what you think about, One Piece at this point. But yeah, that's gonna do it for now. Yeah, we'll catch y'all later.
Peace.
Later.